Good day everyone! I'm Sophia Dinglasan from BSC26. So for today's video, I'm going to discuss Egypt's literature by making this reaction video. Among the choices of literature that had given to us, I chose Egypt literature because it catches my attention and I want to figure out what kind of flow this story has. This Egypt literature is a kind of literature that is mythology or myth, which is fiction. I love fictional stories, that's why I chose this kind of literature. Since it was a myth, my title impression and reaction to the story of the four Egyptian gods and goddesses was a made-up story that explains the behavior of gods and heroes and clarifies their role through their actions. And another impression is they have supernatural power since they are gods and goddesses. I'm expecting that they will use this power in which they have against their enemies or for something they want to have or to be whoever they want to or dream of. In addition, these Egyptian gods and goddesses are far more different from other mythology gods and goddesses that we usually know. There is an enormous difference in how they will fulfill their responsibility as their purpose of being god and goddesses. Furthermore, my reaction to the title was it kind of pretty obvious from the title itself in terms of what the author wanted to convey or let the readers know throughout this mythology. It is quite transparent and fairly straightforward about what the author really meant to deliver to the audience. Now let us move on to the elements of the story entitled The Four Egyptian Gods and Goddesses. So first, let us discuss the characters. There are 5 characters, namely Nut, Isis, Osiris, Set, and Nephthys. Nut is the mother of her 4 children, namely Isis, Osiris, Set, and Nephthys. She is kind, outstanding, and beautiful. She is also a loving and caring mother to her children. Isis is one of the daughters of Nut. She is an outstanding, beautiful queen and a very kind goddess. Isis was said to possess great magical strength and the power to use words on its own to create or destroy life. She was able to use accurate pronunciation and emphasis in order for the desired effect to happen. In addition, she knows the words that needed to be said in order to make certain things happen. Osiris is a kind god. He even might be the kindest king of Egypt. The Egyptian god of the afterlife, fertility, and agriculture is Osiris. Osiris was a loving and caring person to his family and others. Osiris gradually became known as one of the most significant gods in all of ancient Egypt. Set was the Egyptian god of war, chaos, storms, destruction, confusion, evil, and anger. Set has the ability to create chaos and violent force. He is the brother of Osiris, Isis, and Nephthys. Set is not loving and caring to his family, that is why he is considered the only evil in the family who stayed and was born evil. Nephthys was also a goddess and an outstanding, beautiful, kind queen. Nephthys was just like Isis, who was seen as possessing enormous power due to her knowledge of sacred words and magical spells. She was knowledgeable with charms that might protect them from danger and raise the dead. Now we are done discussing the characters and who they are. We will now move on to the setting. In order for the author's intended message to be properly conveyed through the story setting was crucial in creating the mood and atmosphere of the narrative. The setting of the story was situated in a wonderfully beautiful place that they actually live in. The inside and outside of this mansion were beautifully decorated. This story has also occurred in the underworld, where Set shot Osiris in the chest with a gun to end his life. Next is point of view. The word point of view or POV describes the individual who is narrating or delivering the story. First person, second person, or third person point of view are the 3 different ways to narrate a story. In the story of the 4 Egyptian gods and goddesses, we can consider this as third person point of view because when telling a story in the third person, the narrator stands apart from the action and describes the character deeds by using their names or the third person pronouns he, she, or they. To support this claim, these are the lines where the author uses these pronouns. First is, they live in a wonderful, beautiful palace that they always lived in. Next line is where the author describes Nut. It is stated that she was loving and caring to her children. And the other line is where the author is pertaining to Set. He was born evil and stayed evil. From these pronouns, we can say and prove that the point of view of this story is in the third person point of view. Next is theme. The main theme of this story is jealousy. It is about feeling envy of someone's achievements or success. Because being jealous is unhealthy, it is disrespectful. Even though it's difficult to perceive, being envious of other people is disrespectful. Your jealousy reflects volumes about you, and what it says is usually incredibly cruel. Either you are implying that someone is lying, or you are maintaining a strategic distance from the good things that have come their way. People that are jealous of others are dangerous because you might see them as family or friends, but they might see you as a rival. Now let's move on to the plot of this story. The first one is exposition. It was many years ago when there were 4 children. Nut gave birth to Isis, an outstanding beautiful queen as well as a very kind goddess. And Nut had another child named Osiris, an outstanding king as well as a kind god. He was probably the kindest king of Egypt. Osiris was a loving and caring individual toward his family and others. His brother Set was the complete opposite of him. When he heard that Osiris became king, he was jealous. Nephthys was a kind, beautiful, outstanding queen just like Isis. Their mother Nut was like her daughters who were loving and caring to her children, even when Set was a unloving and uncaring person to his family. All of them were caring and loving towards each other, except for Set. There was only one evil person in the family, and that was him. It was in his nature to be evil, and he stayed that way. Rising action. There was a wonderful palace in which they always lived. It was so beautifully decorated. Inside and out, it looks gorgeous. The scenery is just beautiful. There were 10 rooms in the mansion, 5 of which were used and 5 were left unused. Each of them has 2 rooms. Upon hearing that it wasn't he who became the king of Egypt, Set was filled with fury. In an instant, Set added the poison to Osiris' tea. As soon as Osiris drinks that poison, he will go to the underworld. With this gone, Set planned to keep Osiris in the underworld. Eventually, Set pretended to be kind to Osiris, and Osiris actually believed him. Climax. When Set finally earned the trust of Osiris, he gave him some tea where he put a poison for Osiris to vanish into the underworld. Later on, Set finally executed this plan. He killed Osiris by shooting him in the chest with a gun. Falling action. Afterward, Isis and Nephthys searched for Osiris. They did not give up searching for their brother. They looked everywhere, but they were unsuccessful. Despite the feeling that they wanted to give up because they were exhausted, Isis and Nephthys did not even want to quit. Resolution. After Set killed Osiris, they returned to Egypt. When they finally come back to Egypt, Set put Osiris' body within the decorated box. Set buried him in the sand. Isis and Nephthys began to dig later in the day even though it was hot outside. They still continued digging. Osiris was within the box that Isis and Nephthys discovered when they opened it. Osiris was being brought back to their palace where Isis and Nephthys aid him and spell a curse on him. In the end, Osiris became the king of Egypt. My overall reaction to my chosen story entitled The 4 Egyptian Gods and Goddesses is that it was a good story about gods and goddesses. The story gives justice to what the author wanted to express and conveys what the story is all about. There's a nice plot where the delivery of each line is clear, and there is also a nice twist on how Set executed and performed his plan against Osiris. Lastly, my impression of the title was right where the god and goddesses uses their power against someone. This is where Isis and Nephthys use their power to bring back Osiris' life. Relevance to today's society. The story's relevance to today's society is about its theme of jealousy. This story is an eye-opener to everyone who's living in a community where jealousy is unhealthy. It is a negative emotion created by the human mind. Comparison is the root cause of jealousy. For example, when a person wants something and sees that thing being possessed by someone, he or she became jealous. In this way, instead of being happy about the other's achievement, you will hate or be mad at someone who possessed the thing you wanted to have. You will not be happy about someone's success, and you will always undermine others to pull yourself up. It is also an example of crab mentality, where it involves pulling down anyone who achieves or is about to achieve success greater than yours. Furthermore, this story reminds us that we should not have possessed this kind of mentality because it is not tolerable and it's toxic in our society. Lastly, my quotation is, never develop hatred towards someone who is envious of you. Instead, encourage them to believe in themselves and to be content with their own lives.